And I think this relates actually a lot to something that we were feeling, or at least I was feeling a lot in our walk this week in the South Shore of Staten Island, which, this idea of when people feel uncomfortable, they start labeling it as a bad neighborhood. I did not feel comfortable walking around most of the neighborhoods in South Staten Island. It is the things that made me feel uncomfortable. Super homogenous. Felt like more wealth. Felt like people were noticing that we stood out. There weren't a ton of people walking around, and we were walking through a lot of neighborhoods. And when we saw people, it wasn't necessarily unfriendly towards us, but if we try to say hi, occasionally someone would say hi, but a lot of times we were met with this kind of like face of judgment, or some kind of feeling of that maybe they're uncomfortable, like, who are these people in our neighborhood? Why do they look colorful, or why are they wearing masks, or whatever it was, totally projecting on exactly what someone's thinking, but not welcoming. And then also a lot of flags for different things. There's the American flag, which, whatever, okay, that is what it is right now. But then there's also a lot of Trump flags and other flags that seem to represent something that to me is very scary right now and very discomfort or uncomfortable for me. And signs near Trump flags that say, "Don't take this flag down or I'll shoot you," like that signals to me way more danger. I want to interact in that neighborhood. I'm like really running through that neighborhood way more than a neighborhood that just has some disheveled houses.
Yeah. There were Blue Lives Matter flags as well. Don't tread on me flags. There wasn't, I didn't see any Confederate flags.
I didn't see any Confederate flags either, so that's good, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good.
Yeah.
But the other ones are confusing. We actually had a lot of conversation about the "Don't Tread on Me" flags, and I took a moment to just look up the history of that, because I was confused to see those alongside of the Trump flags and the Blue Lives Matter flags. And often all of those would be in the same yard. And because my understanding of the "Don't Tread on Me" flag was that it was kind of like an anti-government flag. And it is. So it comes from during the Revolutionary War. It was an anti-British flag and a flag for freedom. And over time, so in the beginning it was used a lot. Often it would be accompanied by the "join or die" symbol, which has the cut up snake. So I think it's less of like you as an individual join our club or die, but more, we are many different pieces. We must join or we will die.
Mm-hmm.
So that was often part of the message with the "Don't Tread on Me." And the idea of the "Don't Tread on Me" flag or symbol was, don't control me. We are independent. We deserve liberty, right? And so there was a period of time, I guess, where it wasn't very popular. And then after September 11th in 2001, people started to use it again. And I guess before that, there was some sort of like libertarian interest with the "Don't Tread on Me" symbols. And then apparently it really got popular again when Obama was president. And then it's been sort of taken at this point by current libertarians and ultra right-wing political people and the Tea Party. And it's kind of just It's a really interesting thing, just in general, how symbols can be transformed and taken over. Because if you think about, like, it's anti-government, it's about liberty. To hang this anti-government, like, don't tread on me, I want to be free flag next to a blue lives, like a blue line flag, like a police flag, it's like, that's like the law and order thing.
Yeah.
But then the don't tread on me thing should be like anti-law and order.
Yeah.
So you're not really saying anything except that like, the thing that it ends up communicating to someone like me is, oh, a white supremacist lives there.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to be told to accept all people. And you don't like the unity that people are looking for. And so you want some people to be tread on, but you don't want to be tread on for your beliefs.
Yeah.
And your viewpoint, and you want to continue to be the leader, or the person that's higher up in society.
Yeah.
That's what it communicates to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, it's just aggression, and it's about power and dominance. And I don't think many people are thinking as far as you are.
Yeah.
But that is what their actions do.
Yeah.
And the more I see the Blue Lives Matter, and then, we were seeing the blue and red lives matter, where it's like the blue line meets a red line, so it's supposed to be, fire. And then we saw one, I swear, it had 5 different colors on it. It looked more like a Jamaican flag than a U.S. flag. And it was like for essential workers and first responders and things like that. And I thought to myself, how backwards are we now that this, in 20 years ago or whatever, this would be considered a complete disrespect to the flag. Mm-hmm. Or even like 10 years ago. This is a complete mangling and changing of the American flag. And now, because, I guess because in some ways it was allowed for this side of the conversation to co-opt the flag entirely, that they now feel that there's enough ownership over the flag that they can change it to whatever they want.
Yeah.
And I think that's really unfortunate. And I don't know where we go from here moving forward, but it does seem incredibly hypocritical among an ocean of other hypocritical things that you would change the red, white, and blue flag to a black and white flag with a single blue line.
Right.
Or like sometimes they have now the Punisher logo, so it's a skull on a black and white flag with a blue line, and it's just like, how is this any reasonable level of acceptable?
Right.
So
Right. And how do you hear something like Black Lives Matter, not take the time to even consider what people are trying to communicate, that there is a group of people in this country that don't feel like they're being heard or seen or respected, and that we're trying to say, hey, this group of people matters too. Like, that's what the Black Lives Matter means, right? How do you see that? And then say, well, I guess I can kind of see the jump to like, well, blue, it doesn't, to be clear, no. But I can see where people's thought process are. They feel defensive, right? To do the Blue Lives Matter or the All Lives Matter thing. Like, no, if you're listening to this and that's what you think, call me. I'll explain why that's wrong. But to then make a flag that's like essential workers, firefighters, police, like, you're listing off a whole bunch of people. Why would you not include, like, at that point, if you really think that all lives matter, if that's the concept that you believe in, why would you then not start also adopting the Black Lives Matter? Why is that not also part of your flag? Like, if you're so mad because it's only one group of people and you think that that's going against you, why are you not including that group of people?
Mm-hmm. because they're the enemy in this situation.
Well, yeah, and you're only supporting the lives that are actively oppressing that group of people. Like, it just doesn't hold up. I know that there's all these talking points that people have, and they might be able to win a debate on points, but it doesn't hold up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well.
And anyway, we're seeing a lot of these flags, and we've been seeing all these things this week, and yeah, it's hard. It's hard to see. It makes me angry. It's bullshit.
It is obviously close to election time, so it's unclear whether or not this level of flags would be out right now. We walked down Highland Boulevard, and there are flags just on that road. It's unclear how long the flags have been up.
Yeah.
But they are definitely an area-sponsored thing, not just a, individual home thing.
Yeah.
And, we just came off the previous conversation when we're saying that there are no bad neighborhoods, and I still believe that. I don't think that there are bad neighborhoods. I think that this neighborhood is unusual to anywhere else in the city in that it's really looking to project messages to people that are coming into it.
Yeah. I think I find it a little unfortunate. We've had such a nice time on the West Shore and the East Shore and the North Shore of Staten Island, exploring all the nature and the beaches and seeing just how the neighborhoods change and all these sorts of things that we really weren't expecting. It is very diverse, and there's all sorts of different people and different, shops and restaurants. And I mean, not that many shops and restaurants, but the ones we see are all sort of like varied, like things in them and types of food and whatnot. And then I've been feeling so pleasantly surprised by what I'm finding, because what I had this idea of Staten Island being was more homogenous, sort of like blue-collar city worker, police, firefighter, expected racism. And I was like, wow, I haven't really been seeing this at all. This is great. And then we go to the South Shore of Staten Island, and it's all the shit that I thought Staten Island was. It's there. And it's like, you guys are ruining the reputation of your borough. It makes me think, like, no wonder it's the forgotten borough, because there's this heavy thing pulling it down, and it's just disappointing.
Yeah, well, it is definitely the closest thing to what the rest of the country represents, or portions of the rest of the country. It doesn't really exist except in isolated strains throughout the rest of the city. We encountered it when we were on our Rockaway walk, when we went over to, what's the neighborhood? It's escaping me right now.
Broad Channel.
Broad Channel.
No. Well, we
Broad
did
Channel.
in Broad Channel
A little bit in Broad Channel.
But the one that we were, Breezy Point.
Breezy Point and Broad Channel. Those are smaller areas of concentration. And
but they're also not quite as in your face. Like, it's you might see one flag over the, or one small sign or something, but then most of the messages are about strength, and like, it's not so in your face, like, aggressive.
yeah,
Maybe people over there lean differently than we do politically, but it doesn't feel like this anger and this aggression and this, like, excitement that's really, like, hellish.
Well, there's also a beach town aesthetic to that, which comes with it all sorts of other connotations, and an avenue for acceptance, because people are coming and going.
Right.
There's a tidal understanding of the way of life. And with the South Shore Staten Island stuff, there is a lot of it's settlement. There's not a lot of churn, because there's nobody coming through that area, really. you have to be going to there. Otherwise, there's no reason to be there. So that creates a situation where there's not a lot of exposure for anything other than the community that you grew up with, and then as a consequence, maybe people aren't leaving either.
Right.
And there's a lot of expensive home ownership as well, which creates gated communities and isolation also. So just not a lot of ability to see other perspectives. And yeah, I mean, I don't think it's great for it to all be isolated down into that area. I mean, I guess the fact that it's isolated creates it, so it's hard to say, but the fact that people in the greater New York City area don't have access to that personality type on a regular basis is in its own way not good for the city, because it doesn't give people the opportunity to come to grips with it and encounter it, and then they think that their way of life is the only way of life that exists or makes sense. And makes sense, that's a debatable topic, but there are still millions and millions of people that feel the same way in America. And I think a lot of people in the city think, well, that's an over there issue, and I don't know how to come to grips with it. But it's not an over there issue. It's, you can take a train or a boat, and get over there in an hour to experience what that situation is.
And I guess even there is kind of I think it's a really hard thing to tackle, and trying to have conversation, like, there's not a lot of access to having conversations with people that might think so drastically different from you, and actually it's really hard to do it in a way that might allow either person to sort of understand the other better, because it's just so different. It seems to be built on not just like one idea. It's like many, many, many different ways of seeing the world and understanding society. So it's daunting to think about trying to find any sort of like middle ground. And then I think also living in New York, when it comes to this as a political issue, we go blue. Like we are going to vote Democratic always right now. I mean, like, it doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, we have to turn the tide or we have to convince these people. It's kind of like, well, there's this one area of New York that doesn't agree with what most of the rest of the city agrees with. And so, okay, like, they're going to lose anyway. They might have, like, their city council person that represents them that doesn't agree with the rest of city council, but whatever. Like, I think that is really kind of the attitude of a lot of people in New York. And I don't know. I don't know if that's bad or good, or I don't really have a judgment on it, but it does keep us kind of like just separated.
Yeah. I mean, I think the most valuable thing for me is to recognize what you had said earlier, which is you didn't feel comfortable in this area. And I think it's good to be able to expose yourself to a lot of different areas in New York where you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So that you can understand the character of the whole experience.
Yeah.
And that's what we've set ourselves up to do.
Yeah.
So